Well, Casey, thank you so much for joining me today on the Security Nurse Podcast.
Thanks, Sam Marie. It's great to be here.
Yes, we're here at the International Association of Healthcare Security and Safety Annual Conference here in New Orleans.
Here we are.
Is this your first time to New Orleans?
No, so I grew up in Alabama, so I'm in and out of New Orleans quite a bit.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm familiar with the Creole culture.
Okay, so you know the non-touristy places
A little bit, yeah.
to go, where to get the good food, right?
Exactly.
The real good food. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And so you are here with Vistelar. Tell me a little bit about you and working with Vistelar.
So, I'm with Vistelar. I've taken a role as Chief Operating Officer for Vistelar. Come from an extensive corporate healthcare background in the not-for-profit space. So just coming in and really helping further align Vistelar with the priorities of, our health systems and our healthcare our healthcare initiatives around workplace violence, and just that cross collaboration with security, safety, and just really understanding how we fit and how we scale and tailor programs to healthcare.
Healthcare, okay.
And so
what's your background then in healthcare security?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Yep. So I started off in healthcare security. I started, kind of took the first kind of job that I could find as an armed security officer in one of Birmingham's busiest hospitals, Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
And really kind of fell in love with the framework of healthcare and just the cross collaboration and just that team environment. And so I just kind of made a career out of it, kind of went into management for St. Vincent's Health System with Ascension, and eventually was leading the market over security and emergency management for Ascension in Alabama. And then from there, I went into enterprise strategy for Ascension out of St. Louis for the headquarters of Ascension. And then from there, I was really focused on workplace violence there and threat management. I'm just standardizing those processes across, our 12 markets, acute care markets, and all of the ambulatory care settings that went along with that. So
yes, okay, so covering ambulatory too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of times ambulatory say they feel forgotten about.
I know, and that was the case at Ascension too. But starting to just bring them in and baby steps, right, was part of my priority. And then I landed with Vistelar here, and I'm happy to be here. And I feel like Vistelar's, a good way to, impact the industry, the broader industry, not just, in healthcare. Workplace violence is close to my heart. I've been through a lot from the ground all the way up to, kind of strategy related initiatives to that affect our bedside.
Fantastic. So what is Vistelar? What are you helping organizations do?
Yeah, so Vistelar is just a great partnership, license-based, training partner, content partner. So Vistelar does a great job. What brought me to Vistelar was they've done a great job with, connecting non-escalation with de-escalation and into security tactics. And so I thought that was really unique. When Ascension, in my role at Ascension, working with Vistelar, I saw that link from clinical to security. And right now, clinical and security collaboration is so important because, growing up in security in my career, I say growing up, but security has become more and more part of the clinical mission. And Vistelar's done a great job with connecting that continuum-based unified conflict management system. And so, once nursing, has exhausted, their tactics, Vistelar provides that security-based tactic that's clinically based, but still meant for security, that really helps take that pressure off nursing and safeguards that environment of care for everybody else around there getting care. So Vistelar does a great job with that unified continuum-based program that's tailored for each organization. And so there's just a lot of tailoring opportunities that you don't see in other programs.
Yes, that's fantastic. And so you, in addition to being here and representing Vistelar, and I'm sure you guys got your booth set. Yep. Are you setting up a booth this year?
We don't have a booth this year. We're doing more conversations, and next year we'll definitely have a booth. I'm a board member on our Alabama chapter, so I'm going to be a huge advocate for having a booth here next year.
Yes.
I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with Vistelar. I just wanted to kind
have those conversations and
just honestly get a beat on what healthcare, organizations need.
Right.
And that's really my main focus is like, okay, how can we further align with our healthcare partners?
Right. So just not that, how Vistelar was working with Ascension, but now you're on a broader, like the bigger picture, broader scale in helping Vistelar align with multiple organizations now.
Because healthcare is evolving, and we have to be fluid as partners to healthcare.
Yes. Well, and it's very like regionally and culturally driven as well. So I've worked in Cincinnati, St. Louis, Colorado Springs, and now I'm in Michigan. And so just between all those different areas, and then even between, working cardiology inpatient, cardiology outpatient, pediatric home care, and now in the emergency department, those all have their different cultures and needs as well. And so being able to have, a general structure, but something that can be fluid, because healthcare is very fluid. Yep. It's very evolving. It's constantly, changing from moment to moment. And so to be able to have something that can work with that is really, really important. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we're kind of plugging you in and getting you involved in the conference as well is we have our Women in Security Healthcare WISH event that Vistelar has been very kind to sponsor and to support. You guys are you're going to be providing training tokens for everyone that attends so they can log in and take one of the online courses and see what Vistelar is all about. And then in addition, we have a door prize giveaway as well that you guys are supporting us with. And so it is absolutely fantastic to have your support. Can you tell me, because I know because I've talked to you guys, but why is it important to you guys to help support the WISH initiative?
Yeah. So, anyone who is focused on this, kind of an epidemic, right, in healthcare, workplace violence, there's $18 billion worth of, healthcare resources that could be used in other ways going towards, workplace violence events, So any organization that takes it upon themselves to start to try to get that elevate that conversation and collaborate on, ways to think outside of the box on the issue is just super, super valuable right now. And I think that WISH, I paid attention to WISH since its formation. I think it's a couple years now, right? And just the involvement that you have now in the market for being such a, and then a new incoming organization is just huge, and I see that momentum picking up, and and we'd like to do anything that we can to support that initiative, because we're all on the same page, right? We're on the same team, which is combating violence in healthcare.
Yes, yeah. WISH is really focused. We're focused on that mentorship, the collaboration, the recognition, recognizing women in security and healthcare security and the ways that they contribute and helping spotlight that. But then also that allyship, right? With our male counterparts, with organizations, with businesses, and being able to really, at the end of the day, everybody has the same goal, and that's just to make everybody safe and get everybody home at the end of the day safe. And so the WISH, it's a special interest group right now. We definitely are growing. So it's exciting to see how we're growing, but as a special interest group and being able to have these opportunities and these networking opportunities and spotlight and showcase a lot of what women in security and healthcare security are doing. But then again, like I said, also that allyship. So we have a lot of our male counterparts that are going to be attending this year, attending the event and supporting and being able to really show that collaboration and camaraderie, essentially. So
I think the WISH perspective on our, not just workplace violence, initiatives, but just security as a whole is just incredibly valuable to the industry. And I think that it's just, when we're talking about workplace violence, it's not something that it doesn't just affect the people within that organization, within the walls of that hospital. It affects families, right? It affects the families and friends of our associates who are victims of workplace violence. Some of the most memorable calls I've had as a director of public safety were family members calling, angry and confused and just wanted to find answers that I really didn't have as a director of public safety or a director of security, right?
Mm-hmm.
About why their family members feel unsafe at
Yeah.
work, or why they've gone through an event that was traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
And I think Wish brings an incredibly important viewpoint and
Mm-hmm.
perspective on that, and just not only do we as health systems affect our patients population and our associates, we affect, I mean, we're huge conglomerates in a lot of ways in the communities that we serve as well, on you know on the residual side. So
Right, right. Well, and I think a lot of like security, especially in healthcare, and really understanding that, yes, our physical security, our cybersecurity, kind of all of that,
mhm.
but there is an emotional, behavioral, social component to it. And understanding culture and just understanding that a lot of patients and families, it's not that, you're it's just understanding who's got a different skill set, but it also at the end of the day, sometimes it's the patient who chooses. And sometimes the patient wants to deal with a woman and not deal with a
Absolutely.
man. And so it's
Absolutely.
being able to understand that and being able to say, yeah, we can provide that service. You want a female officer to come in and talk
Absolutely.
to you? We can provide that because we
Absolutely.
recognize that and we're providing that. And so being able to say that there's value. I mean, I think for a long time it was kind of difficult because we were trying to, everybody's equal across the board. And in a
Mhm.
way, yes, there's equality, but then there's also understanding that just because I have this skill set or a patient prefers a female officer over a male officer doesn't mean that there's not equality still doesn't exist, right? It's that everybody has their skill set that they bring to the table. And so I
Absolutely.
think Wish really helps foster that mindset that it's not like us versus them or you
Right.
versus me or anything like that. It's really all of us collaborating and working together
Absolutely.
as a more cohesive unit,
Absolutely.
breaking down those silos and being more cohesive in the care that we're able. And you're right, security is becoming more of the care team. They're getting a lot more trauma informed training and understanding how patients react to security. And you've probably dealt with this too. Like as soon as an armed officer shows up
Mhm.
who's hospital based, it's not the police,
Right.
which they have different jurisdictions, but sometimes a patient will see that and be like, oh, you've called the police in here,
Right.
and it
Yeah.
escalates things instead of de-escalating things. And
Absolutely.
so it's being able to like read that dynamic and understand. I was recently at our in-person event training for uh, in our Great Lakes chapter, and there they have started using security officers to help direct ambulatory patients when they come in to
Mhm.
check in. So now they've started to learn a little bit of like a registration side of
Right.
things, and they're wearing khakis and polos, and so they're
Mhm.
not like full
Right.
security, uniform, but different, right? They're
Yeah.
not clinical, but they're different, but
Yeah.
they're also providing a service like helping patients check in. And
Right.
so so security is even kind of starting to become more of like a customer service as
Absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
not just providing that physical
Yeah.
security.
Yeah. No, security, they wear all kinds of hats. You can go from, helping someone find their car, or escorting somebody to their car, or
Yeah.
whatever, to, the next call you're going to, a violent patient. And so it's just so important to arm, your security teams, or prepare your security teams for every level of that spectrum of contact with the general
Mm-hmm.
public. And I
Yes.
think I think Vistelar does a great job of doing that. It starts with non-escalation, obviously, the universal
Mm-hmm.
greeting into the the next
Yes.
phases of that, and it's really just about treating people with respect and dignity. The ultimate goal is avoiding any conflict at all,
Right.
and if you can start out that interaction without any sort of, well, break down those walls of like, hey, I'm a
Yes.
security officer and you should be weary of me,
Right.
to, hey, I'm Casey and I
Mm-hmm.
and I work for Ascension, or I work for whatever health system. I'm here to help. I'm part of the care team. and and,
Yes.
and that's the way the industry is moving, and I'm proud of the industry for moving that way.
Yeah, it's really fantastic to see it because even like, if you want to talk more from just an actual like security side of things, having security out front, helping with that registration process, they now have also laid eyes on every single person.
Yeah,
They've been able, like they were telling us, they're able to, oh, you look like you have a weapon in your pocket. Do you
hmm,
mind taking that back to your car?
absolutely.
So that that patient doesn't progress any further, in the
Yep,
clinical process and make it all the way back to the doctor's appointment with a firearm
yep, absolutely.
in their pocket or holster or whatever. And so just having security out there, even though it seems customer service, it's kind of like an incognito, like gray man, like I'm doing this, but there's also a lot of other data
Yep,
and information that I'm gathering when I'm helping in this fashion. So
absolutely. And I think people, and in every market, are growing more and more used to seeing security kind of on a perimeter, right? And in the modern day world. And so I think it's so important to just prepare your security teams and your clinical teams for just the right way to do that. That way it's not like, hey, I'm security and you should be, wary of me.
right.
It's more, I'm here for your safety and to support your needs, whether you need directions or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
right? We're more of a you know a just an ambassador, for that
Yes.
organization.
Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming and talking with me today. Thank you for representing Vistelar and helping support our Wish event
Yeah,
that we have going on during the conference. We are very, very appreciative of it all.
absolutely. I'm just happy to be a partner, and Vistelar, we support anybody that aligns with our cause, and so we just really appreciate y'all's support as well. And thank you for having me on here, and hopefully we can talk soon and go from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the
Thanks, St.
rest of the
Marie.
conference.
Yep. Thank you. You too.
You're welcome.